That right there, ladies and gentlemen. Blow the fuck up.
Okay guys, so this is the Integra we're going to be working on. First thing I got to do is pull the head off and see if it's still good, because the rod has gone through the block on this guy.
You can see that down there. Yeah, that's not supposed to be there.
So the first thing I'm going to do is start pulling the radiator out. Okay, so first up is we're going to disconnect the two fans on this Integra. So we have one for the AC and then one for just cooling it. And then we're going to disconnect the upper and lower radiator hose off of the engine and then pull the whole radiator out. So this radiator should lift out. And she's full of water. That's that radiator out. Alright, so now we have a lot more room to work with. Yep, she got AC. So we're going to keep that, eventually pull the compressor off and pull it out of the way. The one thing that makes this a little bit more difficult right now is just because it has power steering. That's going to take a little extra time, but not a big deal. So now what I'm going to do is unhook the harness and then pull the headers off. And pull the wires off. Vtec solenoid, pressure switch, temperature. Oh, these are rotted pretty bad. Okay. Next up is distributor. Reverse light. Starter. Alright, I'm going to take the injectors off. So now we've got all the injectors unplugged. Map sensor. TPS sensor. Around to the back to the air idle control. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 injectors. The air idle control, the TPS, the map sensor all unplugged. The main thing is to get anything that's attached wiring wise to the head unplugged. Then we're going to need to take the distributor off and then the headers. We're taking the distributor off. There's only one bolt holding it in because someone cut the ear off of it and is using an LS distributor. So that's kind of wrong. Next, get this coolant hose off of here. Okay, now we're going to try to get these headers off and the power steering bracket off. Okay, now we have all the 12mm bolts removed. Okay, we've got that removed. Now you can really see the rod sticking out of there. I don't know if this head's going to be good or not. We'll see. Okay, I'll remove the throttle cable. I'm going to loosen this 12mm nut here. And take it all the way down. A little blank space. Push it back. Lift it out. That should give you enough. Pull it out. Off to the side so she's not in the way. Now we need to fuel pressure. Loosen this to get the pressure off. What I'm actually going to do is leave the fuel line on and remove it from the filter. But make sure when you do that, you keep all the bolts and washers where they go. Alright, I've got this bolt loose. If you notice, there's a little brass washer. And there's one underneath it. So I'm going to try to very carefully. Alright, remove that. Take this with the washer still attached to it. Put it back in so we don't lose it. Alright. Now, the fuel line is ready to go. I'm going to remove the brake booster hose. Fuel return line off. Get this coolant hose off the intake manifold, because we're going to take the intake manifold with us when we put it off. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and take the head off. What I've done is I've removed all the coolant hose attached to the head, the intake manifold. I've disconnected the coolant line off of the air idle control valve and also the one off the front of the throttle body. So everything is disconnected, and now we can take the valve cover off and start to tear it down. It's all 10mm bolts to get the valve cover off. That. Okay. Okay. Now we're going forward. Ready? Okay. We set this down to the side. This is going to be our tray. And so far everything looks okay. It's really clean. So now we're going to remove all these 12s. These are all 12s. Pull them off. Okay, now it's time to get the cam caps off. Okay. Alright, now we're ready to undo the head studs. It looks good. Doesn't look like it has any big valves. It'll burn up, but nothing major. Could use a cleaning for sure. We are continuing on the Integra B20 Vtec swap build, I guess, if you want to call it. Yesterday I was feeling a little under the weather, so didn't really have much energy. So we're going to continue on today. Now we have the head removed. Now what we need to do is get everything we can detached from the block and transmission so that we can pull the block and transmission out. AC system is still charged, so we're going to keep that intact. We're just going to kind of tuck the AC compressor away. It looks like, you know, a billion hoses and wires are attached, but really, it's not really the case. I think there might be one coolant hose still attached. The wiring harness is still attached, and obviously the mounts are still attached. What I'm going to start doing is removing the wire harness and anything else that is left over. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove the harness. It should get a little cleaner then, and from that point on it's just taking the front torque mounts off. There's one there. The AC bracket is actually one. So once we remove those two, it's just 1, 2, and 3 mounts off, mount bracket, whatever you want to call it. And then of course we've got to get the car up in the air and remove the axles and the shift linkage, and it should be ready to come out. So we're going to continue on from there. Okay, now I'm removing the heater core hose. That was the only hose left attached to the coolant hose to the firewall. Now I'm going to start moving, you know, 10 millimeters here, everywhere that I can to actually just pull the harness out. So you want to keep track of 10 millimeter bolts, or any bolts for that matter. So what I'm going to do is just actually place them right back to where they were. Thermostat housing. Place it back right where it was. Okay, I'm going to unplug that. Alright, now I have to unplug the harness here and over there. Also going to unplug the speed sensor. Okay. Now I've also got to remove the harness off of here. That's for the starter. Now same thing goes for this. And of course disconnect the battery. Anybody who has noticed that I haven't disconnected the battery yet, good for you. Because you're supposed to do that first before anything. I kind of forgot. Okay, now I have these 3 plugs removed off the little bracket that they're held to. Now I'm going to pull these apart. 1, 2, and 3. That should mean that my harness, on this side at least, is free. Now the only thing I need to disconnect left on this side is the starter wire right here. Put the nut back on. Now we also need to remove the ground on the transmission. Bolts back in where they go. I'm going to tuck this bracket out of the way. Now next on this side we need to remove the clutch slave cylinder. Okay, now we're going to remove the 2 12mm bolts. Oh no. Remove the 12mm bolt. 1. And 2. Same rule applies. And then we have the two 10mm bolts that are held to the bracket. We're going to put the bolts back into that spot here in a second. Alright, so we're going to pull this off. Okay, we're going to set it off to the side. Place the 12mm bolts back. Okay. Okay, so now for the most part, everything has been removed on the passenger side. On this side. Now it's time to move on to the driver's side and disconnect things like the alternator for the harness and anything else that's attached. You basically just got to get in there and find what needs to be removed. There's a 10mm here. Somebody put a bolt on. We put the bolt back. We need to disconnect the alternator. So we have the one green plug. Then we have this here, which is a 10mm bolt. We can get on now. We're going to take it off. Pull the wire off. And of course, we're going to put the nut back where we got it from. Now, we need to follow this harness over here, which is kind of stuffed in over here. So we're going to disconnect the harness over here. One and two. The third plug is actually the injector block off, which feeds power to all the injectors. Then we're going to pull on this harness. See, somehow get it out of here, because she should be ready to come out. Okay, the last thing we have to disconnect is the O2 sensor. That's it. The harness is now free. Now this car was in LS before. There's a couple of wires left over for the Vtec, and we're just going to pull them out of the way. And as you can see, it already looks a little cleaner. Next thing we're going to go ahead and do is remove the AC compressor. To remove the compressor, first thing you got to do is loosen this lock bolt, the tension in the belt to the 12mm. I've already broke it. Turn this little stud here. Once you get it low enough, pull the belt off, the compressor, let that hang there. Now we're going to have to remove 4 12mm bolts, 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 underneath. Pretty simple, but I'm going to go ahead and remove those bolts off camera because there's no way to get a camera in there. So now we have our AC compressor removed. Now we have to remove the bracket to remove the torque bracket. Now we have to get the axles out. The car's up in the air. Main thing we have to do is take this, bust the, you can't see none of the bogey. Alright, so 17mm and a 14mm. They're going to need a 17 socket and a 17 wrench. Get this fork off. Okay, now just pull that 17mm bolt out. Make sure that you put the nut back on it so you don't lose it. I like to put everything by the jack stand so I don't lose it. Now we need to get the 14mm bolt out. 14mm bolt. Oh, that's a big old heavy gun right here, girl. Shit. Oh, what is that? Loosening? We call improperly installed. Oh, you recording? Yeah, what's poppin', fam? While you recording, can you hand me that 17mm socket? Now, you gotta remove that axle nut, which I just did. Now, ooh, look at that. No cotter pin for that lower ball joint. Always use cotter pins. Okay. Verify it as a 17mm. And she comes right off, sir. Right off. See that stud that's hanging down there? Do not hit that. Just as a precaution, if we do hit it, we're going to put the nut on it. Don't hit it. Hit what it goes through. So we're going to hit this thing as hard as we can for as long as we can. Hit the control arm. Come again. Now we're going to tap out this axle. Woo, girl, that's a damn world record right there. You want to put a drain pan here? Just when you pop this axle up. There it goes. Axle 1 removed. Now we're going to move along through the shift linkage which is a 12mm socket. A punch and a hammer. Back on the bolt so you don't lose it. Oh, she came out good, that's it. Push the strip. There we go. Okay. Now we take a big gun. Axle nut. Woo! She does it nice. No cotter pin on the lower ball joint. And hit that thing with a 17. Oops, come right off. That's good news. We're going to go ahead and thread it back on just a little bit to protect the threads. Now we hit the lower control arm when it goes through. Now we're taking the torque bracket out. 214mm bolts on the mount. Okay. Rear bracket is removed. I'm getting too old for this.
Too damn old.
Alright, now we've got everything removed. All we gotta do is pull out this motor mount and this motor mount, and it should lift out. Chain it up. It's fine. Well, we want the transmission to drop. Okay, so here we have our engine. Now we're gonna remove the mount here. No. I'm gonna get the 17 bolt out there. Okay. Loops.
And she loose.
Okay. And now we're lifting her out. Had to make a way with these AC lines. Okay.
Look at that mint. Good God.
Here she comes. We have to take the AC bracket, the airbox bracket out of the way to get it to clear. That's why you always want the transmission side to slant down a little bit.
Look inside of
Check that out, boy. Woo! She blowed out.
That right there is why your car wouldn't start, buddy. Three to a good home.
Bring her on down, Bo.
Anybody needs 3 LS rods, we got you.
That boy's a professional. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a removal. 24 hours. I wonder if this thing will...
It won't move. I tried.
That rod won't move for nothing. Next up, we'll be putting the B20 together, and the transmission, and the clutch, and the flywheel, and the head on, and all that stuff, and then we'll be putting it into the car. So stay tuned.
The rebuild kit was the wrong kit. It was for
Read the description.
It was for the standard size shaft. Mine has a thick shaft.
Oh, she got the thick
That's
shaft.
right. And
It's too
it
dark
was
out here.
wrong, so I had to order another rebuild kit. But
A couple more days.
a couple more days.
So why aren't we putting your turbo on your drag car?
Cause the rebuild kit was the wrong kit. It was for
Read the description.
It was for the standard size shaft. Mine has a thick shaft.
Oh, she got the thick
That's
shaft.
right. And
It's too
it
dark
was
out here.
wrong, so I had to order another rebuild kit. But
A couple more days.
a couple more days.